Uh, Welcome, Stephen Neff from Delaware Camera, here for another installment of what we're affectionately calling Delaware Camera Conversations. Today we have T.O. David, who's a local Buffalo photographer, and interested to get to know more about him and his photographic journey. So, Mr. David, hello and welcome. Thank you for joining. Tell me a
Thank
little
you.
bit about yourself.
A little bit about me. I born and raised in the Bronx. I'm originally from New York City, and I went to school at Alfred University. Met my wife, and that's pretty much the storyline from there. and
So is she a Buffalo native?
uh, she was raised in Buffalo, but she wasn't born in Buffalo. She was born
Okay.
in South Carolina.
Okay, but enough of a draw to drag you back here.
Yes, correct. um, as far as just the photography piece go, I started like most photographers. I'm not super old, but I started taking photos with my father. My father was a videographer. So I learned how to shoot video first and then learn how to shoot photography. And I started with a point and shoot, which is I'm a as they call today, a fanboy of the Minolta Sony brand. But my first camera was a Minolta point and shoot. Um, I remember my father teaching me how to load it, and I remember one time taking pictures, and I accidentally opened the back of the camera, not realizing I partially exposed the film. My father just went on a rant, but I never forgot that lesson. I never forgot it. So um, my journey with photography has been on and it's been on and off for almost 20 years. Majority of it was just something I did on my private time, something I just wanted to do. Um, so I started with film, and then when the digital era came, I was you could say cheap. I didn't want to spend the money, so I bought little inexpensive point and shoot cameras. One of the first ones I had was a Kodak. I don't know if you remember the Easy Share dock.
Mm-hmm.
So you can take pictures and dock it. You can load it to your computer or print right from that dock. It had a printing dock. So that's when my interest renewed. And really, when I had kids, that really just supercharged the interest even more, and started shooting. Then I bought uh, another Kodak, which allowed me to shoot manual. So I started playing with that a little bit more. I think it was the Z. Uh, man, it was the Z series something. That's all I remember. But it was a
Yep.
5 megapixel camera. That's what I do remember. I shot with that. My brother gave me one. He gifted me one, which was a 7 megapixel camera, and I shot with those for a few years, and then life happened. Started focusing on my career, take care of family. So I really didn't. Of course, with the camera phones, I took a little bit of pictures with that, but not too much. And then eventually, my brother once again gifted me a camera, another one. It was a Sony NEX5, which is one of it is the predecessor of what we now know as the E-mount cameras for Sony. So he bought it. He couldn't use it. He said, "You're the photographer. You figure it out. You can have it." What was interesting, it had manual lens on it. It had a Russian, the Zenith lens, a 50 millimeter, 3.5 prime lens. At that time, I personally didn't know how to use it, but I figured it out. Figured it out, started shooting with it. Then I set it down. It sat for a couple of years. But I was still looking at cameras. I've always been kind of like I wouldn't call myself a gearhead, but more of a historian. I've studied every camera brand, try to figure out when I do buy a camera, what I'm going to buy. So um, one day I decided to go back to it, and my brother-in-law gifted me a battery grip, and it was for a Sony camera, but I had no clue what this camera was. He said, "Hey, here, keep it. I have no use for it." So I did the research, and it was a Sony A77, which is the A mount camera system.
Yep.
Which I still shoot to this day. I do a lot of my professional work with that camera. So I shoot with the Sony A99, which is a full frame 24 megapixel camera. So I do shoot with that. I won't let it go. I thoroughly enjoy it. And a lot of it is too, I love using older camera gears because there's still life into them. So I do the professional work, but my passion is street photography. Will always be street photography. It is. I spent more time doing that, and I have my street photography camera. I shoot with the NEX7, which is also an E-mount camera. I have a Roku X 45 millimeter f2 lens on it. I have it adapted. I do shoot film too. So I shoot both film and digital, and I do develop my own black and white film. So with this little bad boy, it is a crop sensor camera, but I have a little adapter. I think it's Chinese, but it has a 1.5 mirror in it, so it allows me to actually shoot as full frame. Game changer for me, because like everyone else, you see a new camera, you're thinking back and forth if you should update it or not. I bought that little thing and I love it. I still look at cameras. I'm guilty as charged. I'm always look at cameras. I think they're great technology. And I also have my all black SRT 101. I actually have the same lens. This is it. I'm a big 45 millimeter shooter. I love getting close. I don't mind it, but it still gives me that enough. I have options. If I want to get close, I can. If I don't, I can kind of tilt back a little bit more, but I still have a good, strong composition when I take pictures with it.
So I'm going to back all the way up.
Yep.
So your father was a videographer.
Yes.
You're right. So what was he shooting, and like what kind of events or?
He was shooting events. So it's interesting because he taught me the important lessons of entrepreneurship and art. So when my father shot, it was VHS, big 10-pound camera. Now he shoots a Canon. I can't remember, but it has a memory card in it, so it's all digital. It shoots 4K, and what he does, he shoots events. My parents are from Honduras, which is in Central America, right above Panama. So he always did Honduran events, parties, whatever people wanted. My father was the go-to guy in the community, the Honduran community specifically. And my brother and I, so what we used to do, so my father would take me, because I was the oldest, he'll do the first half and he'll have me do the second half of whatever the event was. And as I got better, and then eventually I was part of the production team. This is before computers now. This, when you had to have 4 or 5 VCRs in your master VCR, and you had to split your videos into the master. Once you get the master, and then you can load up all the VCRs with blank cassettes. And my brother and I, we were pushing the average of 10 cassettes a day. And that's a lot for a little family, little business, But back then it's interesting because the dynamic of photography and videography has changed. Because I could take a picture of my digital camera, have it uploaded within minutes, and have it edited, especially if I already know what the look is going to be. I can have it done in 20 minutes and have it sent out to a client, depending on what it is. So the time has changed completely.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to do it on Sundays. We spent the entire day making cassettes for the community.
Yeah.
Or,
So definitely, I'm learning a lesson, and certainly learning the lesson of entrepreneurship and art.
yep.
Where do I sign up for that class?
It's so interesting to look back. I've done different things, and when I go back into photography, sometimes it's a little bit of insecurity, because like, man, am I good enough? Am I creating the best work? And then I think about it, I'm like, man, I have such a rich history, and I was introduced in such a beautiful way. Not only did I have my father, I also had my uncle, who was actually a photographer, and he shot with a Canon. And he used to go, they tag team. My father did the video, my uncle did the photography. So as a kid, I'm watching this. So now it's like muscle memory. Certain things I do, sometimes I can't figure it out, but then I think about it, I'm like, yeah, it was those two guys. Just watching them, just learning the techniques. And I still have mentors to this day, Vicente Rondo, he's one of my mentors. I always text him if I got a question, especially with film development. He's been a huge help with that. I have a couple of more. A good friend of mine, Sheila, she helps out with that. So what I love the most about photography is the community. It's the community, because you got different types of personalities. It's just like everywhere else. You got the super gearhead. They can tell you all the specs, narrowed down to minute detail. You have those that are fun. They just love the genre and they don't mind sharing it. I'm one of those people. I love sharing it. Anytime anyone has a question, if I don't know it, I'm gonna figure it out. And I love reading photography books. I'm always studying. I consider myself a student. I'm always a student first before anything. Despite the experience and the background, I told my son this the other day. We're talking about, perfecting your craft and reading books. And my son likes to go straight to the meat. He picks what he needs out of the book. I said, if you're going to skip chapters or any section, you must be able to explain that chapter in your own voice. If you can't do that, that means you got to go back and read it. That's the key to getting better. With just any craft.
Proficiency, right?
Correct.
Do you have that proficiency? And certainly one of the gauges, right, as you say, is the ability to explain it or the ability to teach it to somebody else, right? If you have enough understanding of a topic or of a subject to be able to translate it and teach it to somebody else, that's when you have that proficiency and leading into mastery. So no, that's definitely a very good lesson, and an important one that I certainly still struggle with.
We all do. I think that's the fun part. Of course, you gotta be conscientious if you're doing paid work. That's when you gotta go into your bag and do what you do best. But when you're on your own personal time, you should be experimenting, and trying to figure out what you can do better, what you can improve. It's just like being an athlete, Yeah, we see them perform at 100%, but we don't see that background work where they're missing thousands of shots. We don't see it, It's the same thing with photography, I just say, just remember to have fun. You're gonna make mistakes. It's part of and that's what I love about art. Some mistakes can be very beautiful if you can if you can finesse it. You know, you can find a way to make it work. You know, so
Yeah, awesome. All right. So so are you, so your father's still doing videography? Are you,
um,
do you still do any videography, or have you mainly
me
moved to still?
personally don't do videography. I can do it, and if I do it's more for me. Um, I've done in the past. I've done like motivational videos that I used to do a couple of years back before I transformed the business into just photography. So I did that. My father does from time to time still um, does video work. Um, he still has all his camera gears. I mean, um, on my Facebook, there's a for Father's Day, I posted a picture of him, and also on my Instagram, and it's him sitting. It's in New York City. It's him sitting with all his cameras, you know, and that's how I remember the man. You know, always fiddling with some form of technology. So he still does it. You know, that's his passion. He enjoys the video aspect of it. It's something he told me that I keep in my head. The people are watching. Your job is to make sure that the product you give them is a product they're always going to remember. You know, let your work have an emotional attachment for that person. You know, so I try to follow that motto as much as possible when it comes to photography, whether it's street photography, portraits, event. I still I I cheat a little bit. I do throw a little street element into my commercial work because I think it's fun. You know, I enjoyed adding allowing people to feel emotions through my work. You know, that's the goal. And you know, it's interesting, especially with everything that has been going on. You know, with COVID, I'm just put in one category, the Black Lives Matter movement. I've been very active in taking photos of that as well. And my goal as a photographer, one, there's a lot of cameras out today, whether you're using a phone, I mean, the list goes on. But my goal is always, you know, you mentioned um, authenticity, excuse me, but it's also doing the work without bias. Let the work speak for itself. You know, that's why I have a love for, you know, guys like Gordon Parks, photographers of that nature. You know, other civil rights photographers, and you know, they just took the shot. And you interpret that story. You make the decision how that's going to affect you. What are you going to do? And I've been telling a lot of artists out there, you know, use whatever format you can use to speak. You know, some people choose to protest. Some people take a more vocal stance. I use my art. That's my microphone, my camera. At the end of the day, and I take the pictures and I make sure that it speaks volume and it speaks for tomorrow. That's the beauty of it. My parents have about over 10 um, photo albums. When I go down, I look at them just and then hearing my mother tell me a story about a certain person, you know, where they are and in life and things that I love that. You know, that's what made me fall in love with photography. It's a memory book. I've taught I taught my children how to shoot. Now, what they do with it is totally up to them. You know, I don't force it. You know, but they all own a camera. They're gifted one. You know, and I just hope you know they take it and make their own memories. You know, make their own memories and you know have fun with it. You know, you know, we're more. I believe we're more emotionally intelligent today. I just I just think some things are a lost art, like constructive criticism, you know, having the coup to have uncomfortable conversations. Some people don't know how to do that. Their first instinct is to get offended. It's something my mother used to tell me. Listen to what the person is saying. We're so busy trying to figure out what they're saying by their demeanor. And sometimes it's like, just listen to the words, active listening, asking questions. And that's how you get better. I mean, at the end of the day, that is the secret right there, and I think that's like I said, it's a lost art, and I think we have become a society where everything is so quick, so fast, and there's never any space and time to really sit down and think about what you just did. I took pictures of the Buffalo protests a few weeks ago. I literally spent 10 hours editing straight. I took 2,000 pictures, one roll of black and white film. Always come prepared. You would think I know better. Let me tell you a little funny story. So I finished my roll, and I'm like, man, I don't got no more film, which was fine. I was okay, but I had my camera, my digital camera. I'm shooting. Empty memory card. Dang it. Oh man, what I'm gonna do? So I'm thinking, I was with one of my buddies, like, do you have a memory card that I can borrow? He goes, nah. I'm like, so I'm thinking, okay, I have a memory card on my phone, but I don't have nothing to open the phone to take the memory card out. I will sacrifice whatever's in the phone memory card because this is historic. I gotta get this shot. I'm like, man, I can't do it. And then I only had one battery. So the battery was dying. And prior to that, you had him, Jeff Barnes. You had him earlier. I saw him and I was like, man, I only got one battery. And he was helpful. He was trying to help me. But I was like, at the time, the memory was fine, but my battery's down. I said, I'm gonna just cut off the LCD screen and just use the electronic viewfinder. I can squeeze out some more power that way. Then after that, he was nowhere. Jack, he's everywhere. He's a machine. You're not gonna find him. He's moving all over the place. So I started using my cell phone. I was like, you know what? Let me take whatever shots I can get. And because I did the first walk with them, which was fine, peaceful. When they went for the second walk, I made a decision. I'm going home. I'm getting fresh card, fresh battery. Luckily, I always keep my batteries charged. Always keep fresh memory. I just didn't bring it with me that particular day. I'm thinking it's going to be a couple hours. I didn't realize it's going to turn into a few weeks. So the second time around, I was there at night and I left eventually because it was just getting to a point where me felt uncomfortable and I just didn't feel it was going to be a safe situation anymore. So I left. So always carry extra batteries and memory cards and film.
Batteries and memory. Those are the two things you can never have enough of. And that dovetails into one of my other jobs. I actually backup batteries is what I'm a sales manager for OmniCharge. So yeah,
gotcha.
Extra batteries, okay. Extra power. That is something that I will preach forever because I've done it even just a few weeks ago. I was out and I'm on my way out the door and I grab my camera off the counter and say, I'm going for a walk with my daughter, right? Just in the neighborhood. And I figured maybe I'll take the camera, maybe I'll shoot stuff. And I do the little turn on the camera, look down, check the battery, and it's over half full. So all right, I'm fine. Yeah. And we start walking and there's this perfect panorama shot. And I I start shooting a couple, getting a good sweep pan, and halfway through, like I'm real close to getting the shot I want.
Yep.
Battery done, and it was so
Heartbroken.
easy, right? It was walking 30 feet to where I had the spare batteries charging.
Yep.
And I said, no, I'm all right.
Yep. And you know what? I forgot the name of the shooter, but he's a Leica shooter. And that's what he said. The best shot is the one you missed because you ran out of film or battery. That's the shot that you're gonna miss. That could have been the money shot right there. It just, and it just happenstance, with things like that. So I always, um, as you grow into photography, we all do it. We start buying all types of gears and different things. I say battery, memory, and making sure get investing in the right equipment, because you don't want to overinvest, because that's when you're gonna get upset and and some stuff don't have good resale value. It's like everything else in the world. It just doesn't. So you make sure you have a good, firm conversation with yourself if this purchase is worth it. If you're doing it for fun, you know, it's all right. But if you want to get into it and make money into it, you want to be smart about it. You want to make sure you're making the best investment that you can, because I accepted that as a Sony A mount user. And not too many people that's going to buy my gear. And that's okay. I can live with that. I'm perfectly fine with that, because I will probably shoot it till the thing breaks. And I'm okay. Mm-hmm. I have dotted my I's and crossed my T's, as they say, with that. But, eventually I'll probably, dibble and dabble into the newer stuff. I'm cheap, I like saving my money for good glass. That's what you should be saving your money for, lens, because the resale value on lens are way much better than a camera body, depending on the lens.
So all right, so what is your favorite lens?
Ooh. Right, as of right now, my favorite lens is my 45 f2. It's my favorite. It allows me to get close. I can get a good distance and still keep the image. I'm also a big 16 to 35. That range I like, but I'm a street photographer, so I like to get close. I own, telephoto lens. I only use it for events. You definitely won't see me in the streets with a telephoto lens, unless it's, if it's like a protest or something of that nature. That's kind of normal. People know you're there to take pictures, and they kind of leave you alone. And most people will be ready to take pictures for you. So, but me, I'm a close shooter. I get close. I don't get super personal where I make them uncomfortable. I like to call myself a sniper, I'm there, but I'm not there. I don't want you to know that I'm there. I want the most natural picture that I can get. And I love prime lenses, obviously, as a street shooter. But I focus super fast with it. Once you learn zone focusing, the sky's the limit. You really go back to elementary school learning your distances with people in the camera real fast and real quick, because you get that picture and you realize, the background, it looks amazing, but the foreground is they look like a Martian. They're not there. So that's right now, as of right now, that's my go-to, my prime lens, my 45. I do shoot. I do own a 35. I actually own all ranges of prime lens. So I own a 28, I used to own oddball 30. I call it the oddball 30. I have a 50, I have a 90, I have a 85. Obviously the higher you go with the lens size, excuse me, you're getting specific for that type of work. So, and that's why I own so many cameras, because I use each camera for different things.
So, are you mostly when you're going digital adapting and when you're using the SRT 101, are you mainly, so SRT 101 you're using all MD mount lenses? Are you only adapting MD, or are you adapting any other mounts?
I only adapt MD lenses. I have a wide range of Minolta film cameras, so I also use the MC mount as well, which is the older lens for the Minolta systems. And I do have, like, for my A mounts, I don't adapt. I generally use primarily native lens. It's just easier.
You not a gearhead, but you still pay attention. What's got that twinkle in your eye? Is there anything out there right now that you got a little lust for?
Man, whew. I've been looking at the A7R series for Sony. That big megapixel. It's I've been looking at Leicas. Just it's just I that's the cream of the crop. So I've been looking at that. But no, nothing too. There hasn't really been a camera lately that said, no, I lied. There's one camera that I would purchase if I made the time for it. What is it's called I think it's the Sony RX1, I think it is. It's a full frame point and shoot. With a 35 millimeter lens.
Super compact.
Yes, that camera is amazing. I think I would get rid of all my cameras I think that's why I didn't purchase it. It just to me that's a beautiful camera, and I love the Mark II of it because they actually incorporated I believe it's an optical viewfinder for it, but you just pretty much hit a little switch and it pops up. The first one didn't have it. You actually had to purchase it. And I think it's 42 megapixels.
It's the same sensor as I think it says one of the A7Rs.
Yeah, so
same sensor there, and a lot of the design elements of the RX100, which is the little bit smaller,
correct,
the 1-inch sensor, little point and shoot camera, full featured, lots of functionality. But yeah, no, that RX1 Mark II specifically.
Yeah, that's premium grade right there. But what is it? I think it's still valued at like $2,000. I think.
You still pay for it. I don't know the current pricing on it, but it's an expensive point and shoot camera. But if you're like, when you want that small form factor, certainly for street photography, subtle.
Exactly. Yep. That would probably be. But other than that, I mean, I just love researching, and now it's funny because I get asked that all the time. Like, what camera would I recommend and different things? There's 2 points to that. What your budget dictates. And 2, I don't think you can go wrong with any camera, to be honest. Everyone has caught up to some extent. And it's a matter of if you're going to do video work or you're going to do photography. And you got cameras, that is a perfect bridge. Yeah. You just can't go wrong. Just do your homework.
Yeah, it's budget for sure. And what do you want to do, right? Yep. Being clear about what your goals are, and what kind of camera you're looking for. Certainly there are people where the cell phone camera is the right camera and makes sense.
And with the cell phones today, they're bridging that gap. You know, I mean, you're paying almost $1,000, almost $1,500 for a cell phone, which is equivalent to these cameras. I mean, I mean, it changes obviously once you start going into print work and different things of that nature, obviously. But
It's
I mean, for a while, I was using my cell phone to do videos for vlogging, just because it's just so convenient. You know, I feel like doing a video today. You know, set up my phone, I'm good to go. Do a small little edit and upload it, and I was good to go. You know, so it's
I
amazing.
absolutely have, I don't know, a half dozen digital cameras and film cameras. If I had the film cameras, there's another dozen there. But I
Yeah,
have plenty of cameras sitting in the office, and yeah, very often my cell phone is the camera that ends up being the go-to.
it's the go-to. You know, I
Yep.
can't. And, you know, it's so interesting because I've spoken to people. I've known people who take amazing cell phone pictures, better than photographers with amazing cameras. I mean, I always say, as long as you understand light and composition, you can make any picture great if you understand those two elements. And this is this is just a medium. That's all it is. The real work starts here in your head, and using your eyes, using the vision, to imagine what you want, and then go from there. You know, so
Awesome. To you, David, thank you so much for joining us. This has been great.
thank
And
you, appreciate it,
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Where can we find your stuff?
So my website is no, excuse me, it's wwtsphotography.com. My Instagram is what would Tio say _photography, and the Facebook page is by the same name as well. Or you could just type Tio David, it should pop up. You should be good to go from there. So
Awesome. Awesome. Again, thank you so much. And yeah, can't wait to see more of your work and see more of what you're producing.
awesome. Thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated. And this was a great conversation. I'm be honest. I truly, truly enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to other photographers or videographers that comes after me. I love it. This is great.